Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shamiriel if this is your first time here. If you've been here before, then I'm doing something a little different on my channel. I'm doing a few work days in the life. Some of my days can look pretty much the same, but every now and then it switches up, and I just wanted to take you along with me for the ride. I work in the communications field. For those of you who do not know, I majored in mass communications in college, and I've just had very different jobs under the mass communications umbrella since that time. I'm a former reporter. And after leaving the business, I totally switched gears into the PR field. And yeah, I haven't looked back since I left. So I just wanted to take you again along with me for the ride. And just to break it down, communications can be a lot of things. It can be media relations, public relations, crisis communications, strategic communications, kind of all of the above. It's a lot. And it really just all depends on which lane you choose to be in and branch out into. And for the most part, I've done all of them since I've left TV news. So again, I just wanted to take you along with me for a couple of days and give you tips throughout the video, and I hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Good morning, guys. I work from home 90% of the time, which I love. I'm someone who enjoys working in peace and quiet so that I can focus and do what needs to be done. I start my mornings at around 8:30, logging in, getting my lights situated because otherwise when I do my meetings, you can't see me very well. Coffee is mandatory to get me through the day. And depending on what I have on my schedule that day depends on my appearance. If you see me looking very casual, I typically start my day off looking over my calendar. I like to make to-do lists, as you see me doing here, writing out what needs to be done, what deadlines are looming, and just plan out my week. This is typically a Monday thing that I do so I can get a better grasp as to what kind of week I'm going to have workload-wise, and just figuring that type of stuff out. I'm someone who likes to write things down. I'm a planner, so that's really all it is. Here, I'm likely just responding to emails or just figuring out my calendar. I just wanted to get some typical me working B-roll to have something to talk over, since my days sometimes can look the same. As I mentioned before, I'm someone who likes to take notes so that I can refer to them later. And so now I'm showing you my planner and the book. That almost fell. But the book that I'm currently reading, which is Smart Brevity, is just something that teaches you how to have better, more concise writing. And I do find it very helpful. So if you're looking for something to read to help you in terms of professional development, to guide you with writing, and to, again, be more concise and crisp, I advise that you read it. It's a short read, and I just like to take notes from the book, highlight, do all of those things. So basically what I try to do is block time off on my calendar for professional development. Reading a book like that counts as professional development. And so that's what I was doing during that time. I usually try to block off 15 to 30 minutes a day if I can, but at least try to get an hour in a week. I had a meeting during that time. Here I'm referring to my to-do list yet again and adding more things to it, because as you have more meetings and your day goes on, things tend to get added to your list. There are some days where when I have 2 meetings or more, I like to put a little bit of effort into my appearance. And yes, that includes wearing perfume, because just because it's just me doesn't mean I don't want to smell good. So I'm just showing you this is a day when I clearly had a lot of meetings, because I'm putting on a little bit of makeup, give the people a little bit of zhuzh so that I look a little more presentable. This is something I also like to do when I'm meeting people for the first time. You know, you want to give a good first impression. You don't want to come on, or I personally don't want to come on camera with my jeans and a t-shirt, or I'll be wearing jeans, but not a sweatshirt or anything super casual. So I just put a little bit of effort into my appearance that day to prepare myself for my meetings. And again, we're just responding to emails, working on plans, taking notes, reading the book. Again, anytime I had a few minutes to spare and I could kind of switch my brain off from whatever it was I was working on, I would then switch it on to the book so that I was able to read about this. And it looks like I'm highlighting backwards, which that wouldn't surprise me because that's something I tend to do. Again, very much a note taker. Every now and then I will put in music, but classical music or instrumentals, just so it'll help me focus better. And here I'm just taking notes to prepare me for this video I'm doing now. just in terms of showing you what a typical day in my life is like. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, lots of notes, and reading. That's my work day. My first tip would be to find out where you fit. As I previously mentioned, communications is kind of like an onion. There's a lot of different layers, a lot of different aspects to it. So once you figure out which one works for you, then go ahead and ride the wave. I personally think that communications will always be something that's needed. Again, whether it's something that's crisis related, promotional related, storytelling related, visually communicating, I think it's something that will always be needed, but we are not your party planners. I feel like people get that mixed up and they think, oh, well, you're communications and we're having this event, so plan my event. No, we're not your event planners. We're not your party planners. We're not your poster makers. I mean, depending on, again, what branch of communications you fall under, because maybe it's social media and your job is to promote something on social media and create things for that. But for the most part, in the experiences I have, we're not your party planners, we're not your event planners, we're not your poster makers and your pamphlet makers and things like that. So my whole point is figure out where you fit in communications. It's not just always needed when there's a crisis. There's sometimes good news that needs to be spread and people don't know the best way to go about that. Someone needs to tell the stories, whether the stories be good or bad. Someone needs to speak on behalf of the organization, and maybe that person's you. But I do think that a lot of people get what communications does twisted, because they're like, well, I can communicate, I do it every day. But do you do it well, and do you do it right? That's the part that matters. And a lot of people don't, if that's not what their focus is. So a lot of times you have to remind people of that. That's just something to keep in mind. Another tip I would give if you're trying to get into communications, or you are in communications and you're just trying to work your way up or around, is to build your skills. There are so many different ways out there now that you can work on your skills. LinkedIn Learning, and that's the first one that pops up in my head. And different courses you can take, whether it be about strategic communications, writing press releases, networking. What else? You can get certifications, research press releases, comms plans, and it helps you tighten up your writing and things like that. So I just think building your skills will help you better navigate the field. And also, just a random tidbit I can give you is when it comes to writing your press releases or writing your copy, think of your audience, of who you're talking to. Read what you wrote out loud, because that helps. And just, again, tighten up your writing and just see if there's anybody that you can run your copy over who can help give you feedback and stuff like that. But again, LinkedIn Learning gives you really good courses that you can take, or maybe your local college or university, you can take some different courses and sign up for. So don't ever stop learning, I think, is the point that I'm trying to get at. Don't ever stop learning, and just continue to build your skills as you continue to move up and around the industry. Tip number 4, build your relationships. Get a mentor, get a sponsor. And no, not like the sponsor that Tierra Marie talks about in her song.
You treat me to a petty plus manicure. Anything that I ask for from my sponsor, he go and bye.
I'm dating myself. Anyway, a mentor is someone who is in your field or not, who can challenges you to think differently. They're a sounding board, someone who can guide you. And sometimes you can have a mentor that's older than you. Sometimes you can have a peer mentor who can still kind of see things differently than you. And I just think it's good to have one, if not several. I have several mentors, different ones for different things. One when I need tough love, one when I need coddling. There are layers to it. A sponsor is someone who's in your field, but they're higher ranking. And so they're in rooms that you're not, but they know you enough and know your work ethic enough so that they are saying your name in rooms that you're not in. I have not found a sponsor yet, but I do have a mentor. And I was lucky enough to turn my mentor, or one of my mentors, he's a former boss of mine. So he knows me, he knows how I work. And it's just good to be able to talk to him and be like, well, you know how I am. Did I overreact when this happened? Or you know how I am, so how should I approach this, or whatever. And he's managed me, and now he mentors me, and he has the best of both worlds. And so I trust his guidance when it comes to setting me on the right path. And that's to me something, if you have good relationships with former employers, then that could be a good place to start if you are in search of a mentor. And I personally like for my relationships with mentors to just kind of happen organically. Sometimes people just straight up ask you, which no shade, you got to get it however you can. But again, that would be my advice to you, is to get someone who's been around the block career wise, who's seen some things, done some things, knows some people, managed some people, and get them to help guide you through this tricky terrain, which is life and career. My last tip would be to network. There are plenty of Facebook groups where you can find your tribe, find your people, and sometimes submit questions anonymously and get advice from several different people from several different walks of life in those fields. You just got to look around and find the people who can be there for you when you need them. So I know PRSA, the Public Relations Society of America, is a good place. The NABJ, National Association for Black Journalists. Then there's the National Association for Asian Journalists. I believe there's one for Hispanic journalists. There's levels to it, is my point. Sometimes these organizations post jobs and different things like that. So people, once you put yourself out there, introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you're trying to do, you'd be amazed at the number of people who will just be like, oh, let me give this person some guidance. They're asking about this, I know about this, or I know somebody who knows about this, and then they'll offer to help you. And if you don't speak up, then you just don't know. So I think joining any kind of groups where you can find like-minded people would be amazing for you. Speaking of like-minded people and groups, I would also advise that you join Toastmasters. Toastmasters is something that helps you with public speaking. And if you are in communications, public relations, media relations, any of the relations where you may have to speak publicly, you want to be able to ensure that you're presenting your best self. And so with Toastmasters, they just listen to you talk. They pick up on your hang-ups and your, what do they call them? Like just your grammatical issues. So for example, I am someone who says, okay, so that's something I tend to say a lot when I speak, especially if I'm comfortable. And so they are able to pick up on those things, bring them to your attention so that you can be more mindful of them when you are speaking publicly. And forming those groups and having that relationship and someone to coach you through that, they also try to assign you to a mentor with that as well. And they also pick up when you say a lot. So if you say or like or so or anything like that, they bring it to your attention and they actually count how many times you say it when you speak. So again, you can be aware of like, man, I say like every other word. I said like 26 times, and when I was just trying to tell one story. It helps and it's important. So I hope that those tips helped you out a little bit. As I said, sometimes my work days can kind of look the same. I know it's not too exciting sometimes. Just I spend a lot of time working on projects, looking at projects, planning for projects, keeping my deadlines in mind. I do think a little bit of my job also entails a little bit of project management, which is something I'm really looking forward to learning more about. And just trying to keep track of everything. It involves working in the present and in the future, and just trying to plan for both and just make sure all of my ducks are in line while communicating effortlessly. So yeah, I hope that you found this information helpful, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to drop down in the comments and ask. So until my next video, I'll see you later. Bye.